Yep. All right, I think we're live. Woo! Party hat. CV2 party hat, guys. All right, thank you guys for joining the live stream for the CV2. Oh shoot, I can hear myself. Hold on, give me a second. All right, thank you guys for joining the live stream. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. Thank you guys again for joining the Rec Room live stream on CV2. It's a great. We have it out. You can save it as inventions. We are here to get a lot of feedback from you guys. And just remember, if you guys are in the event, just be respectful. We'll raise your hand and we'll get to your questions right away. Meanwhile, I'll let Gribbly take it away.
Circuits V2 came out of beta, which is great. We're very excited about that. A lot of hard work from the team, a lot of help from a lot of people in this room, so thank you to everybody for all the feedback. So, as we said multiple times, Circuits V2 coming out of beta was really just the beginning. There's now, a long road ahead of us to make it bigger, better, faster, stronger, and so we're going to rely on, the kinds of things you're building, the problems you run into, the feedback you have to kind of help guide our priorities. So today's a great day to talk about that. How's it been going so far? What do you want to know more about? I think we've got some cool upcoming features to talk about a little bit, which we'll kind of get to. But yeah, let's get it started, Marisa.
All right, let's start off with Alexa.
Hello, I'm here to get myself into your minds again. My first question is, what's the new stuff that you are prototyping? Like stuff that you're trying to see in CV2.
Okay, well, so one big thing. So, Ordzilla, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you've been working on?
Sure. So the big thing I'm focusing on right now is persistence. So that you can both save stuff in your room between player sessions and have stuff move from subroom to subroom within your room.
Mm-hmm.
And what this is going to look like is a setting on variables to make them save per player in a persistent way. They'll automatically have a global scope in each individual subroom when you toggle them to cloud save. And then they'll also be saving to a ledger that you can see in your player settings. That'll let you delete them or reset them or whatever maintenance you need to do on them. But beyond that, they should behave like normal unsynced variables. They'll just save every 5 minutes to the cloud or when someone needs it.
A follow-up to this question is, will we be able to, once playlists come to be able to create custom playlists, will we be able to have labels like a consistency across rooms instead of just subgroups?
So, two parts to this answer. One, leaderboards are not covered under this.
Yeah. That's why I corrected myself.
We will eventually have a replacement for the leaderboard in CV2. I'm not sure when that'll happen, but it will come eventually. But as for across multiple rooms, I don't know about that. All of our plans so far have been for a single room and all of the subrooms. We haven't discussed at all having this done across multiple rooms.
Real quick before we jump into anything else, Marisa, would you mind doing that voice hack as well? Because the chat on the stream is saying they can't hear devs talk as well, so you might have to...
Oh! No, they should be able to. They should definitely be able to. All right, just give me a second then.
Sorry, Alexa.
Okay, so my next question is something that I kind of forgot to ask in the last Q&A, and that was about object detecting with a certain area. So it's kind of working like as a sensor camera that can detect color and stuff like that. A more like streamlined option to have kind of an area that you can put everything. I know you can do it with trigger zones and like do something together, but I would like to see something kind of more like pre-built and something that can have more functionality as to detect color, like what is distance from the place itself. It can have like a more customizable streaming camera, like streaming camera CV2 kind of.
Who wants to take that one? I know we've been thinking about some streaming camera stuff. Grumpo, you got thoughts on that one?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a really cool idea. The area that we're kind of thinking about right now for the streaming camera is something called this is a tentative name, by the way, but it's something like the camera mount. So basically letting you mount that camera into the socket, basically, and then you can move the camera around using circuits. So that's kind of what we're thinking about. We haven't thought a ton about that kind of like output detection with color on the camera, but it is a cool idea. So as we're kind of building this, we'll think a little bit about there are other things we can add to that socket. But that's kind of our first step, probably, is the powering.
The ability to get data, interacting with Crackle API and getting data out of it, keep like good getting close to like what our it is one direction that I compete with.
Yeah, I was in the dev talk, so I could handle that. I'm just saying, similar to our answer that we mentioned in the having both the creative Q&A last time, is I think that would be really cool. Like the scenario that I think we talked about is if you have a button, somebody can press that in Rec Room, and then physically in your room a light is going on and off based on some API calls. But right now there is some like security concerns and stuff around that and we just have a lot of other priorities that like I think that scenario is amazing. It's definitely on our backlog, but we don't currently have time or plans right now to invest in that.
Okay.
I actually got a question for Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
For you, is it more important to get data from the internet into Rec Room, or is it more important to get data from Rec Room onto the internet? Like, which
To
way
be
do you want
honest,
that
it's
API to go?
getting. I think the first priority for me specifically would be getting data from Rec Room because it allows me to benefit from both ways. I can see whatever data was changed, and I can see like I think it's more having security. My priority is get data from Rec Room first.
Thank you.
I think that because the example I said is pretty easily like only be one-sided. It doesn't have to be like a two-sided code. If
What's the first thing you do with it, Alexa? If you do that.
sign up to my class, so people can come to a room, can sign up to my class in Rec Room, and it will add them to a sheet and like add them, give them a role in my Discord and stuff.
All right.
That's
I think we're all excited by the possibilities there. Great. We do have a lot of other stuff that we want to get to first.
Yeah. Okay. I have a few more questions if that's okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to go into
real quick. I do want to interrupt, Marisa. We're still having issues with the stream having audio. Is it possible to do the camera mic?
I am doing the camera mic.
The POV here. Okay. We'll keep experimenting with that for the people streaming. Sorry about that. Let's go back to you, Alexa. Let's pick somebody else. And then we'll get back to Alexa.
Okay.
Yep.
Other people have chance, so.
All right. I'm going to go to
Questions,
Al button. Go ahead. Oh, do you not?
No.
Okay.
I raised my hand. I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem. Does anybody else have a question here about Circuits V2? All right. Notorious.
Hello. So sorry. I've said this before, not really in a Circuit Spheres 2 fashion, but I guess kind of thinking of it now. Circuit Spheres 2 is now, you guys are adding more things, like Alexa said. I really like that idea. So it's kind of like a follow-up to kind of this. I've said this in the past, and I'd like to bring it back up. If you guys have got any brand new ideas for it. So I would like how you could possibly add like links to buttons. So such as if you wanted to add like a Discord link to a button, the player would click that button, then it would take them to that website if you're on PC. So like you click on it, and then please check your browser, then it will pop up. Same with pretty much any type of websites, YouTube videos, Discords, classes, anything like that. I think that'll be a really good thing to
to add, just because, you know, as for class creators, we always get asked, oh, what's your Discord code, what's this, what's that, but what we can actually do, they can just click a button, then it'll take them to the Discord. So I'm just wondering, do you have any ideas about that, if you just add links to buttons?
I mean, I definitely get the use case. We'd have to think about it, but like, you know, like I've said in the there's always
Look at it from a moderation perspective. Yeah. We want to look at it from a platform perspective. Sometimes there's restrictions on what we can do. Just to kind of pull out the idea, not saying this is only what we would do or anything like that, but just to kind of get a sense of if this would be helpful. Like if we give you a button that could just open the RecNet page for your room, and then we let you kind of put whatever you needed on the RecNet. So it's kind of like ever seen those kind of Linktree links on social sites where it's like you just press one button and you get all of the kind of socials for a given person? Yeah. If we could do that for like RecNet, you just press the button, it opens the RecNet page for your room, and you can have like, here's my Discord, here's my thing, here's everything you need to know to sign up. Would that help?
Yeah, I mean, any way you can kind of start to do it, I think that's another way of doing it. I think that would be really good. But obviously, people would need to go through.
Because that would avoid some of the worst moderation stuff. So, all right, let's take that as a suggestion, and we'll talk about it.
Awesome. Cool. Marisa, before we go, still having some audio issues. The people online are saying maybe Voices slider might be down.
Nope.
The next
definitely
suggestion.
not.
Nope. Okay. Okay. We'll keep.
Just need me to talk.
All right.
Suggestions.
Can you take over?
I don't know.
I'll just shout.
Oh no! I'm sorry to interrupt. One thing they say, someone fixed something on the stream, so everyone's saying it's all good now. So thank you to whoever fixed the audio. It's
perfect.
All working.
Oh.
You're welcome. I fixed it.
All right. You can.
I don't need to interrupt you anymore. So this
all right.
is great.
Moo, did you have a question? You had your hand raised for a bit. No.
I think Striker might have something.
Oh, yep. Let's go ahead and go to Striker.
There we go.
It's not a question. I just want to be annoying and say we need the animation chip and the spawner. Hey, Tyler, come on. Just kidding.
Anyone want to talk about timing of animation and spawning stuff?
It's too big.
I think we want to.
Oh, here we go. Everybody wants to talk about it. Spawner, we're planning to look at pretty soon. We're going to have someone, I think, start in a few weeks look at it. And then animation, we're still designing what it's going to look like. It is on the schedule, though. It's happening. I'd say that one's more like months out. Spawner, I'd hope we'd have something in a month or two. Animation, probably 2 months at the earliest, maybe longer.
I have a question about the spawner, actually, for people in the room. How would people feel, like right now we have an object respawner and then we have like a player spawn point. How do people feel about combining those? Like there's just a generalized spawner for anything.
All right.
People feel good about that?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Digital Pixels and then go to Alexa. Go for it.
If we were to get a CV2 animation chip, would there be anything different about it?
I can speak to that one a
Any
little
new
bit.
things?
Well, so the thinking right now, which is not set in stone by any means, and side note, I hope to get a forum of people who are very experienced with the V1 animation chip together in Discord at some point to talk about the wish list and like over my plans in a little more detail. But it's actually possibly going to be very different than the V1 chip because a lot of the things other than animation that the V1 chip is being used for should be covered in other ways by CV2, like with the get set position chip eventually and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that the animation chip is very good at animation. And I'm trying to remember because it's been a little bit since we touched this. We've been thinking about it in the background kind of for a while, and it'll be a little while yet before we can get to implementing it. But I'd kind of like it to be a gizmo like any other gizmo that affects its children, and you can chain multiples of them together into, say, a skeleton. And then you have some other way to control all of them at once with actual keyframes instead of the flipbook style, you can only capture the whole skeleton at once. So in theory, you can
still do the flipbook stuff with a single animation gizmo, or you can access many gizmos at once to do something more complicated. But it will have a more hierarchical relationship, much like our other gizmos do, compared to the V1 gizmo, which sort of just lets you grab anything from anywhere and do whatever you want with it.
All right.
Does that actually answer the question? It's all a little vague.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to follow up on Ryguy's question of if you had it for the respawner for basically avatars and objects, would that be something, if it was combined, people would be okay with, or would you want that to be kind of a separate thing?
You don't know.
Did people understand the question? Like we kind of need to decide of like have one respawner that respawns everything for the V2 one, or separate ones for objects and players. Does anyone have strong feelings?
I think Alexa.
Yes. Wait, Frank, you want to go first?
Spike, we'll get to you next.
I would really like to chime in because that we have that for the trigger volume at the moment, and if you don't want it for the trigger volume, you can always edit your control chip and take either players or objects out if you need those chips elsewhere. So there really is no downside with having it combined into a single one. If you don't want it, you can always take it out.
Totally.
Anyone else have thoughts?
That's kind of what we were thinking too.
I think what I think about this is the respawn needs to be think in kind of a different way in how it's implemented in V1. I want this to be combined, and I want the same as Swag does to be able to separate it. But I also want to be able to disable the bubbly effect that you spawn and instantly spawn you in a different location.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's
I think that's something a lot of people want. Including me. I think this can be used in a ton of different ways, a lot more creative ways. And I think just having like a set position, like that's, I think that can covers everything. Like a lot of people here can feel like being able to just set your position.
Yeah,
for sure.
Is it okay if I can ask a few more questions?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so I wanted to go into moderation and the anti-grief systems with CV2. Are there any new ideas? Or should I suggest so?
I'm not sure who's best to answer this. Well, but I know there's, but yeah, go.
Well, between the persistence system that will hopefully be coming in about a month or two, and the chips that just got released today to get player IDs, get player by ID.
No, I was player by account names, not player ID.
Account name, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, but I'm hoping that might allow people to make some kind of moderation system of their own. There may be a few more chips we need to think through for that.
Yeah. I think the set position is one of the most important ones, being able to set position of a player, even if he's falling away. I think that's one more very important aspect for moderation. One important aspect is being able to disable parts of your makeup. I said this last time, and I want to keep emphasizing how good this can be. Like,
discussions about that lately,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an active area of discussion. I don't think we have a rock solid plan on it yet, but yes, I think that's a good idea. Like being able to like selectively, like, hey, you can use a subset of makeup pen seems like a very smart move.
Yeah. And have a really more customizable permission system. Being able to disable a makeup pen for a player for a temporary amount of time using the persistency. Being able to not being able to get them fly, or like just stuff on like player specific, like have player specific permissions. I think that's one of the most important thing with moderation. And I think also having kind of a how do I say this? Being able to like again have oh god, I think that escaped my mind. I might come to that later.
Okay.
All right. All right. Before we move on, I just want everybody to know that we will be taking questions from the stream in about a minute or so. But does anybody here in the stadium actually have another question at all? All right, we just might move to the stream. All right, Trunks, is there any questions from the stream?
We got a couple questions. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, we got a couple questions that came here from the stream. Kobdo, he wants to know if will CB2 have the option to clamp players or attach players to objects? Probably something akin to what we talked about, seats.
Yes, that is coming at some point. It won't be. I don't recall what the spectrum of soons is, but we're actively working.
I'd say it's going to be in beta in the manner of, I would say, weeks is kind of like ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that
that's
is
been
looking
actively.
like a prop that you'll be able to put in your rooms that people can interact with to sit on stuff and be attached to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. We've got one more question from Tonic. They ask, by any chance, will we get any CV2 chips that detects if a certain player has bought a certain key in a room?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but I will sync up with the econ team and find out.
Yeah, I think stuff like that is likely. Yeah, I don't think we got a good timeline, but yes, like having some more chips like that is on the roadmap. But yeah.
That's it for the questions right now.
Alrighty.
All right.
Wow.
Does anybody have any questions or suggestions that they would like for CV2? All right. Gonna go to Alexa then. Go for it.
Hello. I heard Don's mention seats. Is there a way we can go into more focus about that? How is it gonna look like? What is it? What can we use it for? Kind of.
Well, so I don't have all of the answers yet.
Okay.
But it will be essentially just for sitting. It will be used to attach a player to a seat. And by default, it will be a visible, like, you know those pad seats you take along to a sporting event or something? It'll be some sort of little visible mesh that anybody on any platform can interact with a UI button in order to sit on it. But there'll also be some circuits v2 hook up to it, and the option to disable the visuals if you wish to use only circuits to put a player into a seat. That will be an option for you.
Okay, that's really great.
Yeah. One of the primary use cases we're thinking about for the seat prop that's coming soon is like a roller coaster or something like that. Yep. So you can like rigidly attach players and have them move freely with.
Oh wait, so they can't fall if they like spin around?
They could leave the seat.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you mean if they go upside down, they'd still be sitting? Yes, they'll be rigidly attached to the seat.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. That can fix one of my very broken ribs.
Yeah, we're hoping that'll be a useful one. It's a simple thing, but it opens up some pretty fun things for moving players around in crazy ways.
Great. All right, so we're gonna go on to Digital Pixels here. Sorry.
Any news on vehicles? Because it was teased quite a long time ago. We have nothing on it
yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's being actively worked on, like literally happening as we speak in a different part of the, well, I guess everyone's kind of half spread across the office, half at home. But anyway, it's been worked on is the point. And I think you can expect to... Seats are the reason we're doing seats right now is as a stepping stone to vehicles. Like you don't really have a vehicle unless you can sit in it and drive it. So the reason we're doing seats right now is to enable vehicles. We have it's not no one really on the stage right now is directly working on it, but we have vehicles in the pipe. You'll start to see us talk more specifically about that on the scale of the next few weeks. We'll start saying more and more. It's coming.
I will say that the first thing you're likely to get is just a couple vehicles that are in the palette and are not especially customizable. Fully like modular vehicle parts will be coming sometime later once we figure out exactly how our object hierarchy.
Would they be clampable?
Ooh.
In what respect? What do you mean?
As in like clamping custom things to it.
That is our goal. At first, maybe not. Yeah, I mean, we probably couldn't stop you doing that. So yeah, probably like the first ones, like Godzilla says, the first ones will be pretty much like, hey, vehicles you can spawn and you can use in your rooms, and the customization might be pretty limited. But the target that we're going for is that you can completely strip down the visible geometry, build your own vehicles, tune them really radically. So, seats, standard vehicles, custom vehicles.
Yeah.
Yes. It's great. All right. We're going to go to Sharky. Go for it, Sharky. Sharky, you can't hear you.
My bad. So you know how if you use prompt local player, it brings up a watch menu. I want to know if there's going to be more chips like that, where you can press a button and certain thing will happen. Like there'll be like a little inventory menu or like a shop that you can use in your watch.
Good question. I don't think we have any firm plans for it, but we have discussed sort of how to do that in a way that's modular. Like, one of our driving principles with Circuits V2 is that we don't want to be too prescriptive about how you use any given chip. We want to just offer a building block that's useful in a whole bunch of different ways. And UI, like UGC UI is a big area we still need to invest in there, because we don't really have any ways for you to do anything like an inventory that you can pull up and look at. So there's a whole bunch of building blocks that are missing from this system, and I can't even guess what they're going to end up looking like, but it is something we're discussing.
And I could imagine we might do some simpler, just yes, no kind of, give a response kind of things along the way. Because I think it would unlock some pretty fun games. Yeah.
All right, great. All right, we're going to
idea.
go to Alexa, and then we're going to check the stream chats.
I wanted to also, if anybody sees what Swag said, multiple prompt, multiple choice prompt. You can see V2.
Oh yeah.
That should be really cool.
That seems like
That's a really nice idea.
yes, no to me.
Now I wanna bug you again. Local text. How's that going?
Probably gonna happen. Probably in the near future. We've been experimenting with the sound effects on that respect to add the option to unsync the visible effect of it, and it seems pretty safe and pretty powerful. So I think we're probably gonna.
And will the animation V2 will have local settings, like being able to have it local?
Unlikely. For the same reason that we can't do it for physical gizmos, I don't
No,
think we can do it for animation either.
Yeah. I remember you actually said that if we can't do it for gizmos, you will be able to do it for animations. I see the story is different, so that's kind of sad.
I might be talking out of my butt there. There might be some stuff I don't know about. I wouldn't expect it to be different, because that breaks quite a few of our assumptions.
I think it's more possible for animated stuff because it's not in the control of the physics engine, but anything where it's physical stuff where it can collide with things. The problem is if you have a local animation and you move it and it knocks into a physics object, and so in my room it's getting knocked around by something, in your room it's not getting knocked around by something. It's one thing to text or sound effects that don't really affect the physical state of the room local, but once you start messing with things can be in wildly different states for wildly different people, it's really confusing.
Oh yeah, I totally get that. I didn't expect to get any physical local stuff whatsoever. I just wanted to have being able to animate an object and have it appear into different places for
Yeah, I mean,
different.
so again, so don't take this as a yes or no. It's just we hear the request. If we did do something like that, it would have to be very kind of limited to decoration mode animation, where it can't really change the physical state of the room. So if that's acceptable for your use case, then maybe.
Yeah, that's totally acceptable.
But yeah, we can give you a firm yes on the we definitely designed the model so that things like text and lights and sound effects and those things can be unsynced safely. So that stuff for sure.
That's great. Is there any news on samplers? Samplers V2 and them being local
no
too?
news on those yet. They will.
Okay.
I bet those could be local though, for sound effects in terms of local sync. Yep. But there's
what about
no immediate news on the V2 sampler.
Okay. What about the costume V2? I wanted to costume V2. I wanted to be able to clamp local text, for example. I think that's and I also wanted have a lot more functionality, having just one costume and have it be used for multiple people. So having to make a ton of costumes for every single player in the room.
So I tested on
Yes.
this in Discord a little bit. You want to take it, Gribbly?
No, you go.
I tested on this a little bit in Discord the other day. Maybe yesterday. I don't know. Time has no meaning right now. But the next iteration on costumes will not actually really be a costume V2. It'll be sort of a prototype for some work we're doing to let you get to making full body costumes with arms and legs. So the next iteration on the costume dummy is basically going to be exactly what we have now, except we exposed this additional skeleton to you for the purposes only of costumes. We're not changing the avatar or anything. And then
that sounds good.
The version after that, we hope to get to the kind of stuff you're talking about, where we actually make the costumes themselves more useful and the quality of life of making one of them better.
Yeah, there's actually, like, just for context for everybody, like, so you can kind of understand the roadmap run a little better. Like, remember what I was saying just a little bit about the roadmap for vehicles is we're doing seats first, then we're doing, like, vehicles that are in the palette that aren't really very customizable. But ultimately the goal is you can strip down the vehicles, customize them, put on gizmos with animated parts. Like the same, basically what we want to do is we don't want to have like a customizable costume and a customizable vehicle and a customizable everything else. We want to use the same system for like, hey, I want to build a custom vehicle with all kind of crazy animated parts and local text attached to it and stuff. The exact same set of systems and technology should be what you're using to build a costume with crazy animated parts and local text attached to it. Because if we do it that way, it means now you can do like anything, right? You can build anything, like basically make any kind of custom object. So we don't want to go down the road of like, we're doing custom vehicles, we're doing custom weapons, we're doing custom this. It means like then you'll permanently be waiting for us for like, oh, I want to do a custom this. Well, like we have to make a special template. We instead want to give you a system for like, you can just create custom objects. And that's it's what that means is the upfront. I know everyone's been very, very patient because we've been talking about this for a long time. The upfront cost to us is higher. It takes us longer to get that system done. But once it's done, the flexibility of that will be much, 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 much higher. So that's kind of why the fully customizable costume is a little bit further down the road, because it's going to be the same system as fully customizable vehicle, except for the very basic thing that it's attached to. Everything on top of it is just objects clamped together and, anyway, does that make sense? So we're sort of like, we're just taking a little bit longer up front for a much, much more capable system once we're done.
Wait a second.
That makes sense.
We don't have legs?
What?
We don't have legs.
Oh my god. Brian, we've been trying to tell you this for a long time.
What's a leg?
Oh gosh.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and ask the live stream.
Wait,
okay, go ahead.
Oh, I have one more last. You mentioned custom weapons. What's that about? I actually mentioned that being in CV2 when CV2 kind of comes out. That was almost half a year ago.
What's the question? Sorry?
Custom weapons, being able to build custom weapons.
Yeah, I think like we need to figure out fully customizable weapons, like again, should be the same system as customizable vehicles, customizable costumes. I think the kind of two things that I think, I'm not sure, I don't want to talk about timing, this is really more Bryhol's department, but the two things that I think are the next experiments we want to do is like, we need a way to pipe through your actual physical controls to a circuit execution. So we've been talking about just a simple handle of some kind where it's an object you pick up and its primary function is to turn a trigger pull. Like I'm on a Quest 2 right now, so I'm pulling the trigger. When I pull that trigger, we want CV2 to be aware that like, hey, the player's pulling the trigger, you should do something, right? And then you can do all kinds of interesting stuff with that. And then the second part of it is projectile launching. And so I think there's still more experimentation we need to do on like the performance implications of like, should that just be a generic spawner, or do we need to do something more custom that's a little bit more friendly on networking and stuff so that you can spawn a lot of kind of projectiles? And we're not quite sure which way to go yet. So we were focusing instead on, hey, let's get Circuits V2 out of beta so that we can start getting a sense of how it's performing in the real world. We can start tuning it. We can start optimizing it where it needs before we start like spawning, 100 projectiles a minute per person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we do have ways to go
yeah.
on a lot of stuff from like a tech perspective, and so unfortunately there's just a lot of refactoring, a lot of heavy lifting we have to do kind of behind the scenes to set ourselves up to get there. And so fortunately, it's not something we can just spend a couple weeks being like, hey, we're going to rethink how we deal with objects and kind of hierarchies and things like that. But we have actively been working on that. We're going to be kind of doubling down with that in the near future to hopefully get that past the finish line, which then will set us up to this kind of system that Gribbly is talking about to kind of enable creators to have these more granular building blocks.
Okay, that's pretty great. Could I ask like 2 more things? I'm sorry.
All right, Alexa, we'll come back to you, but we're gonna ask the live stream first. We'll come back to you. All right, let's go ahead and Trunks, go ahead.
All right, we got 3 questions from the live stream. The first one comes from Flexing One M Houses. They ask, will you make a chip that detects player controller inputs?
Yeah, I mean, eventually, yes. But exactly what that'll look like, I don't think we're sure yet. Tyler, you got any thoughts on this?
I think we're probably going to fall back to what you were talking about earlier. At first, the baby step would be like a little trigger gizmo. We'd be able to figure out if the triggers are used. Then we might expand that into other sorts of gizmos, maybe ones that detect a few more buttons. It's hard to tell long-term whether we would give you the direct button input. We'd probably want to do some of those experiments first and see how far players get with just gizmos. I don't want to rule it out, but we'll probably go the gizmo route first.
We'll have to do something
Thank you.
that works on every platform.
Yep.
Yeah.
Regardless, so it'll never be like the A button. You know, it'll be like the input for grabbing.
Right, the action button.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Good
right.
answer. The next question comes from me, Steezy. Will there be a leaderboard for CV2, and if so, when?
Yes, eventually. We don't know when yet. The first version of Persistence will not serve that function, though.
Okay.
The last question comes from Valhalla. They said besides the animation gizmo, are there other CV1 gadgets that are being converted to CV2, like the stage light, the rangefinder, etc.?
Those are on the
Do you
list.
want me- I can take it. Yeah, I had a couple of conversations today with Tyleo and Rai Guy about kind of our backlog, and that is one of our goals. That it's going to be a slow burn getting to CV1 parity, but there's some lower hanging fruit. There's some kind of heavy lifting things. We're going to be doing like a balance, but it's definitely on our radar to kind of slowly get through the giant list of chips that we still need to do.
It'd be good to know which
Very aware of that.
like which gizmos or gadgets you want converted first. Like other than animation gizmos, of course, going to be at the top. But other than that one, what is like the number one thing you want ported? It'd be good to know.
I think our belief is that Spawner is really high on the list, so that one's pretty high on our list.
Yeah.
But yeah,
totally.
The request be made to the Canny website.
I think that's a good place for it for now. Yeah,
Yes.
the Canny's probably the best spot. I'm going to comment
we've been
too.
looking
Some
at
of those. You want to go?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that we do look at the canning when we do planning. So if there's something people really care about, make sure it's on there, upvote it, get other people to upvote. That's a really good input for us. So, sorry, Tyleo, go for it.
I wanted to say that we also might not implement them exactly as we're in CV1, so I'll give you a few examples. Trigger volumes in CV2 update at 60 hertz rather than, I think it was 10 or 30 hertz for CV1.
it was 10 hertz. It was 10 hertz.
It wasn't very fast. And they detect both players and objects, so that's one example. Alexa mentioned earlier that for respawning, we might actually try something like that set position chip too first, which might be more functional than the respawn. And then a final example, the rangefinder, I believe, has some ink limits. We think we might even be able to get rid of those entirely and just have like a rangefinder as a single chip that you could plug into a vector gadget and point it at things to find the range.
Yeah.
LiDAR at that point.
That's great. All right. We're gonna go to Alexa and then Digital Pixels.
Okay, so I have something both me Swag really wants. Set authority. Is there anything progress with that? Like set authority chip, that being able to set authority for an object of being able to set apply authority of an object.
Talia, what's your latest on that?
We have some tech concerns with Set Authority. I don't want to promise it. We've actually thought about releasing it in beta as sort of a limited run to see like what happens when we give it to players. Are rooms tending to break, or are they tending to be better? What could we learn about it? So we don't have a plan to do that one like straight into every room, but I think there's some experimentation we might try out there.
Okay. My next one was about what was it again? Well, again, next Q&A. I forgot. Damn it.
All right, that's fine. All right, Digital Pixels.
This is deviating off a little bit, but in the first trailer there was shown to be a hingeable locker, as in opened it would actually hinge open. Would that ever be possible in CV2?
I hope so. I have grand ambitions to make a hinge gadget or gizmo.
Yeah, I think that there'll be a type of gizmo. Like, I think we imagine like the gizmo family. We hope will expand quite a lot now that we've got the CV2 foundation out. And so I think a hinge gizmo is the way you would do that.
Yeah, some kind of.
Because you want a hinge gizmo that's got some physics, but it's like a constrained physics, right? So you can kind of like knock it around and it moves back and forth. Yeah, I think we can probably do that. I don't want to say when, but it fits the gizmo model, right? Gizmo model being it controls the motion of its child. I think anything that fits that model we can make into a gizmo.
Great. All right,
I'd
we're
love
gonna
to be able to use that interchangeably with the animation gizmos. We'll see.
Yes, exactly.
That's
I would
what I
love to be able to like I want to merge that into a costume so you can have like secondary motion on things that are on your costumes and stuff like that.
Woo, that's great. All right, I'm gonna go to Victorious, then Cass.
Oh, awesome. I mean, not really a Suckers version 2 question, but I still really want to ask it because it's been talked about quite a lot in the Maker Pen master chat. So I've seen Marisa and that you said last Q&A that we want to update the tools a lot more, such as the configure tool and the freeze tool. Is there any reason, like what are you guys planning to update from what we already have, such as the freeze tool and the configure tool and the other tools?
Marisa, do you want to talk about any of the thinking you've got on the Maker Pen and the palette?
Sure. So there are a couple of things that are happening. Like, how do you guys feel about having the options to freeze everything in your room and then be able to see everything that is frozen, and then be able to freeze by permission? So that will certainly change. Like, that's not set in stone at all.
Okay.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's good. The one thing that I would really like is for the freeze tool to be a lot more advanced, such as like workshop teacher. I've said this plenty of times, but workshop teachers, like it's kind of like a configure tool, but with a freeze tool. So like if we were to freeze, it'll say freeze for all players, freeze for I don't know, like all of that type of stuff. Just because like people tend to unfreeze and grab stuff, and no one really likes that.
Yeah.
So I would like the configure tool to be a lot more advanced. When it says non-grabbable, it's only like see how with let's just say for example, like they are like I'm just trying to think of an example, like I think art canvases maybe, like when you go and configure that, there's a lot of like configures, but the owner will have a lot more configures to do with that object. So even stuff like that, I would really like to have.
Right. Yeah, that's
I
really
think that's
great.
definitely the direction we're headed. Yeah, I think that kind of thing is definitely the direction we're headed. Like just having a better set of toggles, having it be more permission aware so that you can do things in like a classroom setting, like the teacher can move and change stuff, but the students can't.
Yeah.
Right.
We
also have actually really thought about how that could be implemented in games as well. One thing to think about, like what if you could control all the roles on the Maker Pen menu? So like if you, you can only draw this shape, or you can only press these buttons, and then maybe you could
I would really like that as well.
Build their workshop or something like that with those type of tools. Any thoughts around those customization? All right.
So do you mean by, for example, like players can't use gadgets, and only certain people can? Yeah, I would like that. I would really like that.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go to Cass then.
Awesome, thanks.
A couple of other hands kind of popped up there.
Okay, so with Circuits V2, is it like possible with a dummy to make it like invisible? So you have like this skeleton in a dummy, and then in close you see literally invisible. Just you don't see a body, but just a skeleton. Because I didn't see that, and I'd love to have that in the game.
That is not something we're going to implement at this time. The main reason for that is it's got some weird behaviors with the general experience. Like, we can't change your hitbox. We've got some performance avatar batching stuff that's all tied in with that, and it just turns into a big, very interconnected sort of system to actually let you go invisible. Like, there's a lot of ramifications in a lot of parts of the game. So it's a pretty big conversation. We have heard loud and clear that people want that, so it's certainly on our radar to figure out how to enable that as a gameplay option. But it won't be in the costume dummy in the immediate future.
All right. I'm gonna go to Mr. Bunny. All right, go for it, Mr. Bunny.
Okay, so will there be any idea of a player that is a bot that could follow you around and that could, like, be an enemy?
We hope to get where you can make your own.
Yeah. So I know what. Yeah, we know what we want there. I can't tell you exactly where it is, but like we have the tech in there already with the V1 animation stuff where you can have a nav mesh. We can have AI that can kind of pathfind around us. So that stuff's good. What we want to get to is that there's essentially something like a gizmo that I'll go back to what I was saying before. Remember saying we want a shared system where you can build a custom vehicle out of Maker Pen shapes, or you can build a custom costume out of Maker Pen shapes. Basically, here's the mental model that at least I want. We may change our mind as we evolve it, but like what I want is kind of a gizmo that's like a kind of Roomba that can pathfind around the room, and then you can just build on top anything that you want on top of that, like out of Maker Pen stuff. Ordzilla was talking about the animation gizmos before and being able to chain them into a bit more of a skeleton. So if you wanted to make a character that walked around, like really it would be moving because it's attached to this room, but you could have it animate based on how fast it's moving and stuff like that, so you can create like a character. That's the direction we want to go in.
I also have another question. So about the coffee, it doesn't go into the cup. Will there be any idea of something that could actually go into the cup?
Asking the big questions.
Do it so can speak too.
As soon as we tackle,
You gotta use your imagination, Mr. Bunny.
Yeah.
Use your imagination,
Yep.
Mr. Bunny.
All right, Alexa, and then we're gonna talk to see if we have any questions from the live stream.
Okay, I remembered. So, a few Q&As ago, I asked about being able to detect what platform the user is playing on, and you said no to that. Now, showing up with TV2 and how physics are different for screen modes versus VR players when it comes to flinging with, like, bird tag, for example, I would like to have a chip that detects whatever plays in screen mode or a VR player. As simple as that. Don't need to do anything more. Just these two values. Is there any possibility to get that?
We've talked. Well, so first of all, like plan of record is we're going to remove the differences in the physics behavior across the different platforms. That's one thing to be aware of. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. The second one, honestly, I know we've talked about. I don't know if anyone else on stage has more evolved thoughts than me. Like, I feel really torn on that one. Like, on the one hand, like my initial thinking was like, no, like the whole idea of like once you're in, by the time you're in a room, like we shouldn't really care what platform you're on. And if you're building experiences, we want it to be like, it's up to the avatar to figure out, like, just, you should be able to do everything on all platforms. That said, like I definitely got into some persuasive discussions on Discord with people who are like, yeah, we want to use those chips to give a more custom experience for people on various platforms so we can make sure they have a good experience. I'm like, I'm honestly really torn about it. Like, that's my honest answer is, I don't know.
I think like the best example is bird tag and Nameless's latest film. About I had to spend almost about a week identifying every movement versus a VR a screen player to be able to make a CVT system that can differentiate between them. And that helped to make the room a lot more like a really cool experience without having to able to press a button every time you join the room, whatever you're screen mode or a VR player.
Nameless, what's your room? What's the room?
The room she's referring to is the Heart of Varahuri, and in one sub-room where I was running out of heat, I made a system that all the players joining the room looks at like all the parameters we have about their position, so like hand position, look direction, and there's certain ranges of values within screen motors, in which screen motors stay, and it looks at those and tries to guess whether the player's VR or screen.
I got you. So you're basically like you kind of like created your own system for detecting platform.
Yeah.
Or like player mode. What do other people think about this one?
My gut
worries me
says
personally.
Yeah, my gut says kind of what you were saying, Gribbly, of just I feel like it's a failure on our end if we're not doing things that are cross-platform. It's like, hey, our goal is to like reduce that big gap between platforms. We lost Gribbly. But I do hear what you're saying, where it's, if there is custom experiences that we can do per platform and giving that in the hands of the creator. So I'm probably with Gribbly that I'm torn. You could do it with like trigger zones and things and get creative ways of almost like polling the audience of like what mode are you in. There are ways to do that.
Yep. All right. I think
I don't know. Short answer is don't know. It's sorry, Marissa, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say don't know. It's a great question. Very, very good question, and like the honest answer is don't know. Got to think about it more.
All right.
I have a quick little thing about that. I've been a big fan of like the track player position, hand direction. There's a lot of cool things you can do with that, but when it comes to making experiences that are enjoyable for both VR and screen, as a builder, it almost feels like, either you make like kind of a mediocre version for both, you make a great version for the other, or a great version.
Yeah, I mean that's the persuasive. Yeah,
only one side
that's
is going to have the optimal experience.
That's the persuasive. Yeah, I mean, on an extreme level, I mean, you can at the room level just say, this room level is for VR players only. Like that is an option. I don't know. Honestly, yeah.
Then you run into the problem that your room is probably going to fall off of the map because the majority of players are screen mode players. If it's not for them, you made a cool map, but
yeah. Okay.
You'll never find
we got to think about it. We got to think about more. It's a really, really, really tricky one. I guess a possibility is we could experiment with it in beta and just see how it goes, but we'll talk about it more. It's a very good question and a very good discussion to have.
Right. All right. So we're gonna move to the live stream, and then I'll come back to you, Nameless. All right. Any questions from the live stream, Trunks? Okay. Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Yeah,
he's gonna crawl all the way to the stage.
Okay.
Will the coffee go into the coffee cup? We answered that live stream.
All right.
No more questions.
If you're talking, Trunks, we can't hear you.
I'm not hearing Trunks.
Your voice is still under the floor.
Shuffle audio.
Yes, there it goes. Okay.
Hey.
So yes, hello. We have several questions from the live stream. Cobdo asks another question. Will CV2 holotars, if they come out, be able to track you picking up objects or be able to track costumes that you're wearing?
We hope so. We haven't investigated the work that would take. The big problem with that one is that we don't really load the ink cost for your costume unless it's in that room, and holotars can go anywhere. So we got to solve that one on the back end, and then maybe, we'd love to do that.
Yeah, we definitely want it for sure.
It's same with this
Great.
too, with creation and educating people when it comes to creation. I think holotar is a really interesting system to support some of that stuff. Again, haven't really talked about it too much. Don't know what that looks like, but something that is on our radar.
Yep.
One other thing regarding holotars in CV2 is someone is requesting, Infernal Digital is requesting if they can toggle the entry and exit transitions. When the avatar itself becomes scaled, when it pops out of the holotar and when it goes back in.
Oh, right.
Just
Just skip.
So it just blinks in.
A more fluid NPC, so to speak.
Right, it's kind of expanding on the options we added recently, like turn off the projector and turn off the sound effects and stuff like that. I'm guessing.
That seems pretty reasonable. We can certainly look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put it on the list.
Yep.
Ask plans for there to be more fonts and characteristics, italic and bold.
That one also seems pretty reasonable, but isn't in our plans. So let's put it on the list.
All right.
Perhaps in its planning, it's regarding seats, height adjustment,
All right. Oh, Trunks, you're
to
cutting
height
out a
they
bit.
sit down.
You're cutting out a bit.
My wonderful lag. Sorry. Once again, that the awesome channel asks, regarding seats, will there be a height adjustment setting for users?
I think there's going to be something like that. That is this team, so I don't know very much about it. But
Yes, we have
I
been
think
talking
the
about that
plan
because
is
yeah.
to make a
Yeah.
seated experience, so you can play in VR sitting down without being short.
Yeah.
And also accounting for players of multiple heights, so it's likely that something like that will happen as part of that package.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have for now.
All right. A Nameless, you had your hand up before. Do you have a question still?
Yeah, looks like we're also, some of us have hard stops coming up in
Yep.
the next few minutes too, so let's do like maybe like 2 or 3 more questions.
Yep.
I have two questions. One very quick one. Since most of the requests for set authority seem to be related to gizmos, so is there a chance that we'd at least see a set authority that only works on distance and mutators, for example, so that because what Pancake did in this rec card scrum where you pick up the orb with the pistons clamped to it is.
You shouldn't need that anymore, right, Tyler?
Sorry, I was just having a mic issue. To set the authority to pick up the little sphere.
Yeah, to operate a gizmo, you don't need authority.
I'm not 100% sure what's going on in Pancake's room. You don't need authority to operate it, but when you get authority of things, they definitely work smoother for you. So
Got
I
it.
suspect
Right,
that's what Pancake's trying to do.
I see. Right.
We also have, those go-karts are made of multiple pieces, and you can sometimes get the authority of one, but not the authority of the other. I've seen this with people making hang gliders before.
Right.
So he might be trying to work around problems like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right. Yep.
I think that's the same conversation about set authority earlier. We'll probably do a beta experiment and learn that way because we're a little uncertain about whether it's the right move or not.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do one more, Marisa.
All right. Convo, I'll come back. Convo, I'll come back to you. After the stream.
Yes. So, would there be some kind of way that CV2 would be able to gather input of a voice? Like if I say something that the game would recognize what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Oh right, like
That's
a
come up
voice
couple
rec,
times.
a voice rec kind of thing. I mean, it's certainly possible. I don't know exactly when or how we would do it, but I think from a technical standpoint, there's no reason it couldn't be done.
We
what would
already
you do
have
with
the
it if you
mic
had it?
meter in the mic settings.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could tap into that.
Yeah, man, I think it'd probably be like we'd I'm not sure how we would do it. I don't know if we'd do it where you have to send the voice chat to a server and we do the interpretation there. What do you want to do with it?
Like make NPCs which you can talk to, like give them answers to.
I see, right, they ask you a question. Do you want kind of just you could just say yes, no, or do you want to say really more complex sentences?
Well, you could start with yes or no, or just really simple things and then move to more advanced stuff later.
Okay. Let's just take that as a feature request and we can talk about it because it's there's definitely some really nice aspects of that. Both on there's some really nice potential on the creation side of being able to use some light voice rec like when you're creating as well.
Especially Alexa's question with the data stuff. You could say hey, turn on my lights, and then your lights turn on and you're in rec room and some cool
You missed the obvious Alexa trick here.
I know, I got it. I applied it. I wanted to say, hey Alexa, this is your idea. But
I'm sure you've never heard that one before, right, Alexa?
No.
All right. Thank you guys for joining, and just post your questions in the live chat, and we're gonna keep pretty close eye on all of those questions, and we'll take note of them. Kava, I'll talk to you right after this stream. And thank you guys for being so respectful and joining, and I hope you guys all have a nice day. And we also have a Maker Pen class at 4:30 p.m. PT, so hope to see you guys all there. All right.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for the questions and for the feedback. Much
Thank
appreciated.
you.
Bye, all.